Hello and welcome to PPMA TV with me, Andy Fitzsimons. I'm delighted to welcome Brian Holliday from Siemens. Brian's just finished his keynote speech on automation and the digital smart factory, which is a very interesting subject. Digitalisation is clearly changing the way people think and the way we do things. Can you tell me a bit more about how digitalisation is actually perhaps changing the landscape of UK manufacturing?
I guess as manufacturers, it's certainly challenging us to think quite differently. It means as a manufacturer, you don't stop thinking about the quality, the cost, the delivery, and sustainability challenges that you've got. But digital tools, the availability of high-performance computing and data to the manufacturing process is helping us bring products to market faster. It's helping us automate and be more agile in the factory to produce more individualized products. And it's helping give us more insights from the factory, from the process itself,
Sure.
Which in turn is helping us to improve things. So I'm very much of the view that digital technology is an aid to doing things better.
Okay, so in terms of Siemens itself, what sort of digital technology is Siemens offering to obviously help that?
So we go to market with a technology set. We call it digital enterprise. But essentially we've got software that helps companies design their products, to simulate and verify them. Software that would help them design and simulate a production environment and automate that. And cloud platform technologies like MindSphere that enable you to connect with the plant and use apps to understand what's happening in that. So essentially a design, a manufacturing and an analytics capability.
Now, Siemens is a manufacturer in its own right. So, what are you sort of deploying yourself through the marketplace?
So we use a broad range of technologies in our factories. You'll imagine that when we're making 75-metre wind turbine blades in Hull, that's quite a different process from the superconducting magnets at Oxford for MRI scanners. But today here at the conference, I've used our factory in Congleton, which make variable speed drives, power electronics, as an example. And we've got a broad range of technologies that we're using there. Of course, there are people that do things, there are machines that do things. And I've covered some of our robotic processes where we've been able to automate the test and inspection and packaging applications in the factory for some of the power electronics components. And that's just really helped us learn more about our processes in a digital sense, taking operators into a cave, a computer-aided visual environment, not just to work on the design of the product, which we've brought to market faster as a result, but also to improve the production environment, the cells. So actually cell operators will come, they'll work with us in a virtual environment to improve the environment that they're working in. And that just helps us for things like productivity and repetitive strain, that sort of thing. So I think we're trying to use a broad range of those technologies that help us design and simulate what we're doing, help us automate increasingly to add value, increasingly, trying to extract data and understand, using our own tools in our factories. Not quite robots making robots, but certainly it's an automation company. Sure. Using these digital technologies to improve. And
of course, this all comes under sort of Industry 4.0. So, how widely known is that, particularly for obviously the small and medium-sized enterprises?
I think Industry 4 became probably the most viral and widespread of recent ideas in manufacturing. And I think it's been quite useful, that sense that actually there's a significant productivity leap underway driven by the advancement of technology. I think it's useful. Some might see it as difficult to understand because, of course, it covers concepts like cyber-physical systems. It covers individualization. But, of course, it also draws us to think about ideas like how technology can help make us more sustainable, how humans and machines can interact more in the future as well. So I found it to be quite a useful set of ideas to think about being more productive, more sustainable in the future as well. So that's helped guide some of our thinking in terms of the technologies we design and the way that we deploy them.
Is that something that the sort of PPMA members can actually benefit from day one?
No, absolutely. One of the things that I suppose is evident to me is that we haven't had a particularly interventionist government when it comes to what we now talk about as industrial strategy. So when it's come to manufacturing, we've dropped from roughly 30% of our economy in the 1970s to roughly 10% today. And I think having a more joined up sense of what we need to do has been very important. The Made Smarter review started life as the Industrial Digitalisation review, but it was 200 organisations, companies, government, and also associations that got together to try and really unpick, well, if we are to benefit from a fourth industrial revolution, what have we got to do? And what it found was that we were lacking in leadership, in adoption of technologies, and in innovation signposting. To whom do you go when you're a small company and you need help?
Yeah.
The result of that review was an initial £20 million from government on a pilot activity. It happens to be in the Northwest, but PPMA members could, for example, go to get a technology intervention, to get an expert to come and have a look at their process, their plant, their machine, and get some sense from an expert of the sorts of things, the sorts of technologies they might be able to adopt, or the sorts of skills they might need to develop in order to take a competitiveness or productivity step. It's just one of the routes, of course, and here today we've been hearing about the Manufacturing Technology Centre too. So equally here in the Midlands, in and around Coventry, the MTC also provide a service that's very similar to this, where they'll come and walk the plant, they'll do a lean inspection, they'll think about how technology could overlay what companies do well and maybe help them take another digital step.
Never like to mention the B word, but obviously Brexit is obviously central to a lot of what goes on at the moment. Can you see that having a big impact in terms of what goes on in the advancement of digitalisation?
I guess like many, I'm genuinely not sure about the impact of Brexit yet. Economically that's been difficult, and of course one of the big factors is the uncertainty that it's created for companies. And I think we, along with many of the industry associations, have been very clear with government about no deal being potentially damaging. But I think for me Brexit and manufacturing are interesting. I think post-Brexit, if we recognise that one of the clear messages I think from the electorate was progress, shared benefit from that. Manufacturing used to be 30% of our economy. Today it's 10. It's a real economy. It creates jobs in regions outside of London, and I think it's worth investing in. I think that should be a focus for a post-Brexit government.
Is it different in the UK to how it is on the continent in terms of the advancement of that technology?
What we noticed from the Made Smarter review is that we are different. There's a certain stickiness to the German model, for example, in which you get local banks that work together with mandated membership of a centre of commerce, the Chamber of Commerce, with companies as employers there. And there's something about that that's better at promoting investment in technology and skills. And guess what? Through the review, we found a correlation. If you invest in plant and equipment and skills, you become more competitive and productive as a result. So I think, to me, that part explains this 20% productivity gap that the FT like to report we've got against France, for example. I'm not sure what the number is versus Germany, but I do see higher levels of technology uptake with our near neighbours, and higher level of investment in or provision for skills and upskilling. So I think there's something we can learn from that we have to do more here. I'm genuinely delighted that Made Smarter seems to me to be the first practical intervention from government, which is funded, to help companies think about investing in productivity enhancing steps like technology, like skills, and that's been well supported by our high value manufacturing catapults like the MTC in Coventry.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Well, you mentioned the word learn, and this has been a great experience, and clearly a number of our members are going to learn a lot from your presentation today. So really appreciate your time and being on PPMA TV, Brian.
No, that's great. Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.